Guys, I'm going to be talking about a series of essays by Stuart Close, who was a homeopath in the early 20th century. And he was the professor of homeopathic philosophy between 1909 and 1913 at the New York Homeopathic Medical College. So obviously that was before the complete eradication of homeopathy from public discourse by the Rockefeller um reforms or the Flexner Report and all the witch hunt against alternative medicine. So this was again the golden age of alternative medicine, the golden age of maybe civilization, but we're not going to get into that. So this was the hospital in New York, which was completely homeopathic. And this series of essays is about philosophy, homeopathic philosophy. And this is going to be a part one of a look at this thing. I might do some other videos on the rest of the book. So first, I wanted to um, look at, again, in philosophy, we are looking at the important philosophical aspects of homeopathy. And what we don't want is a mutilated homeopathy because it is a lame and crippled thing compelled to sustain itself by crutches, splints, and braces. An emasculated homeopathy is an impotent homeopathy without the virility necessary to maintain or reproduce itself. What is he talking about? What is Close talking about here? Again, we are talking about retarded forms of homeopathy which have flooded the world in modern times, especially nowadays in the 21st century. Most of homeopathy is retarded. So we need to return to classical homeopathy. And I've been quoting all the big names in homeopathy: Kent, Boger, Lippe. They all say the same thing. So people who want to throw out classical homeopathy and forget about it are just dumb. So don't be dumb and follow the biggest geniuses in medicine who have ever lived. So, what is classical homeopathy? We're going to get into this again. I know we get into this all the time. Subjects such as the life force, single remedy, potentization, infinitesimals, the minimum dose, and the totality of symptoms. These are the principles of classical homeopathy. And the retarded homeopaths just like to pretend that these are not, that homeopathy doesn't have any principles, but it does. So we need to prescribe on the totality of symptoms. We need to prescribe on mental symptoms. We always need to be looking at the mental picture of the patient. We always need to be looking at all the general symptoms of the patient, not the disease symptoms. We need to dose minimally. Homeopathy doses minimally, so we don't bombard the patient with hundreds of remedies um, and all that. What else do we have? Homeopathy is opposed to the methods of vaccine and serum therapy, although it is claimed by many that these methods are based on homeopathic principle. Yes, it is similar to the homeopathic principle because we're giving an allergen and we're uh, exciting the body with an allergen, a small amount of an allergen, something which the body might react to. But the method of applying the principle is a violation of natural principles. So vaccines are a violation of natural principles and an incorrect uh, way of applying the principles of homeopathy, while homeopathy is the correct way. Thank goodness we haven't gotten to the point where homeopaths actually advocate vaccination, but some actually do. So also be careful out there with homeopaths because some actually embrace allopathy. So that's that's a complete outrage. Homeopathy is opposed to so-called pathological prescribing and group treatment of diseases. Again, many retarded forms of homeopathy advocate grouping diseases and giving multiple remedies based on the group of disease we're dealing with, just in hopes of having some kind of effect, right? Instead of looking at the totality and finding the perfect remedy. This was already happening at the time of clothes. Homeopathy treats the patient, not a fictitious entity called the disease. Homeopathy is opposed to polypharmacy. Again, we have maybe the majority of homeopaths nowadays giving multiple remedies, which is called polypharmacy. The biggest masters, the biggest names in homeopathy already warned against that. Kent, Close, Boger, all these guys. And the retarded homeopaths just come along in the 21st century and pretend that these people do not exist or that they all don't know what they're talking about, which is obviously not the case. Um, Homeopathy bases the selection of a curative remedy upon the totality of symptoms. We talked about this. Very interesting. So, to wrap this up, the working principles of homeopathy are the follows: the totality of symptoms of the patient, use of single medicines, the symptom similarity is the guide of choice, and we need the minimum dose. And I don't know if there are any so-called modern or practical homeopaths listening to this. If you don't agree, you can come on my channel and debate me, but you obviously won't because I am right. And the form of homeopathy you practice, if you ignore all these, is just a dumpster fire. So that's it for today. And if you would like to do a consultation with me, you can get in touch. You can find my contact details in the channel description.